Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Gornbein. Today on Gracefully Graying, we are doing something very special. We are going to be sharing a very beautiful prayer for healing called Mi Shebeirach with my guest, Cantor Neil Michaels of Temple Israel, which happens to be the largest Reformed congregation, not only in Michigan or the country, but in the world. Cantor Michaels, welcome to Gracefully Graying.
Thank you so much, Henry. Pleasure to be with you, and I love this program, and I'm honored to be included.
Well, we're honored to have you. First of all, why don't you tell us a little about Mi Shebeirach and its background and what it means?
Well, Mi Shebeirach is one of the central prayers in Judaism for those who are ill or recovering from illness or accidents. And the name Mi Shebeirach is taken from the first two Hebrew words, which means may the one who blessed.
It's a beautiful prayer. And is it sung in every service?
Well, traditionally, the Mi Shebeirach is said in synagogue when the Torah is read. And if the patient herself or himself cannot be at services, a close relative or friend might be called up to the Torah for an honor, and the one leading services will offer the prayer, filling in the name of the one who is ill and his or her parents. But because it's not an officially mandated prayer, there's a lot of room for creativity regarding whom to bless or how they can be blessed. Thus, there are Mi Shebeirachs for just about any person in need of some divine goodness.
So this includes spiritual as well as physical healing.
That's correct, yes. Specifically, in the prayer, it says, Rifuat HaNefesh, the healing of the body, and Rifuat HaNefesh, the healing of the soul, and Rifuat HaGuf, the healing of the body. So both are taken into account. And it really is even more encompassing than that. It goes on to say, please restore this person, to heal them, to strengthen them, to enliven them. We offer them a complete healing. So it really goes the whole distance.
As we were taping the show, we've been going through really an extended period of extreme illness, what with COVID and so much that's going on, as well as, for lack of a better word, the sickness that's going on in our world with the Ukraine and so much else, where there's so much emotional as well as physical angst going on. So without further ado, I'm going to ask that you sing it for us and share it with us.
Okay, my pleasure. Yeah, no, this is a prayer that has many settings, but this particular setting is very well known by Debbie Friedman, who, Aleva Shalom, was a brilliant liturgist and song leader, and her melodies have become so ingrained in congregations all over the world that people think they came from Sinai. So this is one of those melodies, Mi Shebeirach. Mi Shebeirach Avoteinu Mekor HaBeracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi Shebeirach imotenu mikor haberacha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you so much. It is so beautiful. And you mentioned the version by Debbie Friedman. Are there other versions sung?
Yes, there are many versions, many beautiful, beautiful settings of Mi Shebeirach. I don't know if any have stuck quite as well as Debbie's version, but many, many settings of it. And Mi Shebeirach is while it is a beautiful and beloved liturgical setting, it is one of several healing prayers. And the other one that comes up quite often and that you'll hear set to music and included in a worship setting is El Na Rafanallah, which means God, please heal her. And it was said, it's actually taken directly from the Torah, from the Bible, when Moses saw his sister Miriam suffering from what was some affliction of the skin, some say leprosy, and because there was no cure at that time, Moses prayed, and in his words, in his very short and succinct prayer, he said, "Oh God, please heal her, El Na Rafan Allah." So that is also a setting that you'll hear quite a bit.
Cantor Michaels, as you said, you've been in Temple Israel for 18 years. Tell us a little about your background. Share it with us.
Yeah, sure. I didn't necessarily grow up wanting to be a cantor, but I had lots of musicians in my family, including cantors. And two of those cantors, I think, ultimately were very influential for me. Both cousins, both highly regarded as cantors, one in the Reform movement and the other in the Conservative movement. And, at some point along the way where it became clear that I could sing, probably around my bar mitzvah or shortly thereafter, they said, you could be a chazan.
In other words, you were in tune for your Haftorah.
Right, exactly. I was like, well, this kid can actually keep a tune, So, they, you could say at that moment that they planted a seed, but I had, another design in mind that I could be on stage, and ultimately I pursued that. I left my home in Toronto. And moved to Ohio initially, and then transferred to New York to Juilliard, where I did my undergrad studies, and then after that in Philadelphia at a school called the Curtis Institute, where I finished some graduate work, and from there continued working and performing in opera and musical theater, and all kinds of different performance wherever I could find it. I was happy to be gainfully employed for a nice chunk of time and living and working out of New York. But then some things happened in life that, I want to say were signs, things that kind of pointed me in a different direction. Probably most distinctly was 9/11. I was living in New York during that time. And while no one I knew, thank God, was affected directly, it was a very affecting experience. And seeing the devastation, the emotional turmoil, just the clear need in the world, I I started to think about how I might use my gifts otherwise. And then at some point, my wife or girlfriend at the time, my wife, who was from Michigan, and I decided we were going to get married, and we were going to be married in Michigan. And we were introduced to Temple Israel by shopping for invitations at a place called Lee's Stationery in Birmingham. Anyone shout out to Lee's? You know, and an amazing young woman, Lori Buckfire, Aleva Shalom, sadly passed away a few years ago, told us about Temple Israel and an amazing guy named Rabbi Harold Loss. And we made an appointment to meet with him, and we had really never, met with a rabbi like Harold. Rabbi Loss was
He is amazing. Yeah.
amazing, warm and charismatic. And in the process of our telling him about our musical backgrounds, he said, you could be our new cantor. And he was joking. I mean, it was a kibbutz, right, at the time. But he started introducing me around to the other clergy as this is our new cantor. And this is crazy, right? And so he really sort of nurtured that initial seed, maybe that had been planted years ago by my cousins who were cantors. And I started thinking, well, maybe I could do this, even though I hadn't formally gone to school for it. I had Jewish knowledge. My dad was raised in a very traditional home, my mom in a more reformed setting, but I could read Hebrew. I could chant. I knew all the prayers, but I didn't go to seminary or anything like that. So much to Temple Israel's surprise, I called and said, "Are you still looking for somebody?" And they were very gracious about it and said, why don't you come on in? We'll interview you. You'll meet our other cantor, who at the time was Lori Corson. And I met with Lori. We prepared a couple of musical pieces. I went in. What did I start my audition with? Oh, what a beautiful morning. Because what says cantor, than a piece from Oklahoma. And I guess they liked what they heard because they invited the executive committee to come back later that night. And before I knew it, they were pulling me into the executive conference room and offering me a job. So that's how my career at Temple Israel began. And we started off in a way that they were incredible about it. They said, let's try this out. I know this is new for you. This is also new for us. We've never hired somebody this way. Let's try it for a year, see if it works. So as you said, 18 years later, here we are. And since then, I have formally gone to cantorial school and become ordained, officially cantor. And fulfilled, sort of the premonition of my cousins, that I could be a chazan.
It's interesting, Cantor Michaels. We were at a shiva a number of years ago, and I was sitting with you and we were talking. And you said something that has always stuck in my mind that is unique about Temple Israel, which is none of the clergy, including the cantors, have written contracts. Everything's oral. Still true to this day?
Yes, it is quite the anomaly in the profession, so to speak. And when I talk to my other colleagues around the country about it, my fellow cantors, rabbis, they don't understand how it works. But you also have to understand that most contracts in life, whether it's working at a temple or in business, are finite. There's a sum determined a number of years that's agreed upon. And especially for clergy, that can be of a very short duration. So it can be anywhere from sort of 2 to 5 years as a typical contract. And as a result, a congregation can experience, a bit of a revolving door of clergy over the course of its existence. But the beauty of Temple Israel is that the clergy don't go anywhere, And we, for us, we have the beautiful experience of seeing kids from the time they're babies to the time they are adults, living life fully and being a part of their lives at all of those times. And the same is true, I think, on the other side, that for families of our congregation, they can have a relationship with a clergy person for, the majority of their life. Again, this is one of those things that you try not to take for granted, and we recognize that it's a unique thing to Temple, and we're very lucky.
It works. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about what your duties are as a cantor?
Right. Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, we are a very robust congregation of 3,000-ish families, which I don't know what that breaks down to, as on an individual level, but let's say 10,000 people. You can imagine there's quite a lot to do. And as a cantor, my function really is to help lead worship on a musical level, to bring a congregation along in those experiences, to help officiate at life cycle events, B'nai Mitzvah, a program that I oversee at Temple Israel together with Rabbi Marla Hornston, weddings and sadly funerals, and everything in between. So that alone keeps us pretty busy. But Temple Israel really functions more, even more than just a place where you go to worship, like a community center. So the number of programs, the quality of programs that we're putting together all over the course of the whole year is extensive, and we're really doing our best to reach all different audiences, from young to young at heart, and we're constantly, in different cycles over the course of the year, preparing for holidays and programs or programs surrounding holidays, finding creative ways to engage our community. And our community as well uses the temple as a bit of a community center. So you'll find other organizations using our space as well. So there's always something going on. It's not a place where you punch a clock. It's a 7-day-a-week thing, but some days are busier than others. And it's never boring.
What do you find most rewarding about what you do at Temple Israel and being a cantor?
Well, again, I feel really, really fortunate to be a part of a community like this where I can share my musical talents, my gifts with them at the most important moments of their lives. And that's very distinct from a career in performance. I learned that early on, that this really doesn't feel like performing. There's a different feeling about it, and you are a part of a person's life, not just there as a musical presence, but as somebody's clergy person, and all of the things that go into the definition of that. You are their friend when they need it, a shoulder for them, someone to support, to call on when they have questions, to connect to other parts of the community, to rally for when they need it. So all of those things come to bear, and it's something that you have to constantly kind of pinch yourself and remind yourself of, what it is that makes being a clergy person, rabbi or cantor, so special, and it really is those relationships. Additionally, at Temple Israel, we're very fortunate to have a concert lecture series that is completely underwritten. The Laker family has been doing this for generations now. The Appel family, the Schmier family. And the beauty of these concerts that, we have the good fortune to steward is that they are free, not just to our congregation, but to the community as a whole. And that's, again, something that we really try and treasure. We recognize that not everyone has that opportunity. And we're just going to get started up again. I'm very fortunate. I'm very proud to say that in May we're going to begin concerts in person. We've been on a bit of a hiatus here while we're waiting for a good time, but we're going to get started up again in May.
Marty Lakier is a good friend of mine, so I hear all better from his perspective as well. But it is a wonderful series, and there are a lot of wonderful things going on. Do you have any frustrations about your job or your role as a cantor?
Daily. Yeah, there are constant frustrations. I think all of us feel them. I think most acutely recently, the frustration is not being able to be present in person in the way that we were typically used to doing. At key moments, being in a Shiva situation, for example, just didn't make sense. And my personal goal, I can't speak for my colleagues, is that I really wanted to make it to the next life cycle event,
Sure.
and not be sort of, sidelined for whatever reason. So that has been an ongoing frustration, I must say, over the last couple of years. But there are other frustrations too. There's sometimes where just the machine that is, temple and working in an environment where you have so many people that are in good faith trying to reach certain goals doesn't run as smoothly as you'd like.
Sure.
And you want to figure out what the next best way is. So those kinds of things happen all the time.
I'm going to hit you with a curveball. You can say no, but would you like to end the show with another song or a
Another
musical?
song, huh?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I could do something. Let me see here. This is a song that actually I quite love. Let me just make sure that I have what I need to be successful. Yeah, let's see if I've got this here. It's a song I've sung from time to time. I think it's a reminder of all the things that we have going on in our worlds, that if we don't stop and just sort of take a look and recognize, they just become invisible to us. So this is a beautiful tune called May I Suggest.
Okay.
May I suggest to you, may I suggest this is the best part of your life. May I suggest this time is blessed for you. This time is blessed and shining almost blinding bright. Just turn your head and you'll begin to see the thousand reasons that were just beyond your sight. The reason why I suggest to you, why I suggest this is the best part of your life. There is a world that's been addressed to you, intended only for your eyes. A secret world, like a treasure chest to you, of private scenes and brilliant dreams that mesmerize. A lover's trusting smile, a tiny baby's hands, the million stars that fill the turning sky at night. Oh, I suggest to you, oh, I suggest this is the best part of your life. There is a hope that's been expressed in you, the hope of 7 generations, maybe more. And this is the faith that they invest in you. It's that you'll do one better than was done before. Inside you know, inside you understand, inside you know what's yours to finally set right. And I suggest to you, and I suggest this is the best part of your life. This is a song, comes from the west to you, comes from the west, comes from the slowly setting sun, with a request of you to see how very short the endless days will run. And when they're gone, and when the dark descends, oh, we'd give anything for one more hour of light. And I suggest this is the best part of your life.
Neil, thank you so much. That was beautiful. And I appreciate it. I mean, totally unplanned, unscripted, but that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Cantor Neil Michaels, I want to thank you so much for being our guest on Gracefully Graying. This was just a wonderful experience for me, and I look forward to sharing this with everyone. And to our viewers, I want to thank you so much for watching Gracefully Graying, especially this very special moment with Mi Shebeirach and Cantor Neil Michaels from Temple, Israel. Thank you.